So this is where I'm going to create my repository, and let me name it REST Framework. Let me name it Django, because we really need to make sure that all things that we need will be found right here. And I make it public. Okay, I can just not put readme here, no license. Let me just create this one with this. Okay, here I have created my Django. Okay, let me share my screen because I can see that you aren't seeing the screen. Alright. Yes. So on our part, the first thing that we need to do, we have to make sure that our GitHub is well connected with our repository that we put our code. Let me put my code in documents like this. This is a document repository where I want to put my code, and I will create a folder called Django REST Framework, like this. And after creating my Django REST Framework, this is a directory that will hold my project, and I will actually go in, I will change the directory to this Django, and I clear. This is the directory I currently have of Django. And after actually doing this, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that my Django is installed. Everything I need to start with Django that will present on this part. So what do I have to do first? The first thing I need to do is to make sure that I have this Django installed, and I have also Django REST Framework also installed on this part, and I do enter. So first thing they will say internal manage environment, which means I didn't set my environment, but to set it I will do python -m env okay, python 3, okay, env env like this. Oh, sorry. This, and after installing my environment, I will check and see if my environment is ready. My environment is here, and I will start my environment by source env bin, because I need to activate like this. So here my environment is activated. So and I will then move on installing my my dependencies that I need to use, which is pipe install Django, like the current one I was trying to install earlier. And if I do install, they will start to correct my dependencies. So first of all, the thing that you have to do before you do anything, you have to install your environment. After installing your environment, you must make sure that also you have your pipe installed, and check your Python, the version you are using, because I installed it using Python 3. You have also to check the current version of Python you are using. So after this, you can see that my dependencies are well installed. So and I will continue with creating or starting my project, and on this part I will use Django admin start project, and here I will start with a project. I will call it API. Let me call it API, Django API. Let me name it like this. And this Django API, I want it to be in my current directory. I don't want it to recreate another project directory. So I will put it inside. So if I check well in my directory, let me say like this, you will see I have Django and API and Django API environment and manage.py. So to view this in our VS Code, I will do code, and I will do just my current directory like this, and it will open it. Okay. So try to zoom in a little bit. As you can see, here I have my project directory, which is Django, and I have my Django API. So this is the first step I needed to do before anything. And the other thing I need to do is to connect my GitHub, because I have created my GitHub early. My GitHub here. This is the GitHub I have created. I have to copy my link that I will be using and come back to my project, and I will do git init to initialize the GitHub. After initializing GitHub, I have to do git remote add origin, and I will put the link on my origin. And after this, I will do git add. It will add all things to my GitHub. Git commit -m. Here I will put my first API, and after the commit, I will do git push. I will do git push set upstream origin to master, because my current repository doesn't have any branch, and my branch I will name it master. And if I push, it will load all things that need to be sent on my GitHub, and after that you will see that here it has been successfully pushed to my GitHub. If I come back here, you will find my repository updated with my current project. All right, so let's continue. After we have created our project, we create our environment, everything that we need, we continue with exactly okay, we have started our project by creating initial project folder structure. We move on the project directory, and after that we have to create our app. Are components, or what we call module in Django here. And let me say I want to create like a book. This will handle everything related to our book API. So I will go with python manage dot py start app, and I will name it books. And if I enter, this one will create my component or module, which is books. And then what do I have to do next? I have to add this app and DRF to settings.py, and these settings we will go here on our directory, our app directory, where we say Django API, and in setting we will find a place where there is app, this one, this application definition, and by this I will put my app right here, books, like this. So what does this mean? Django needs to know which apps are active. We add books, or what we call our custom app, and also because we are dealing with REST framework, we have again to put our REST framework on this part too for API functionalities, because we are actually going to be dealing with APIs on this part. So what do we have next? We have to define our model, and by defining our model we will go to our book, and in our book we will find a file called models.py, and here is where we are actually going to be making our model. So how do we make our model? We start by creating class, and I will name this class a book. This book, it will have argument of models.model, and this argument of model.model we have inside are different fields, and these different fields will be title, and this title we have maximum length, and this maximum length will be equal to 100, and after this we'll have author. This author also will have models.car field, which will also have a maximum length, of 100. Alright, and after this we also have published date. This published date, it will have model.date field, because we have a type of date field. This date field we will not put any kind of restriction to it, because we automatically have a date time. And we also make description, and this description will be for our book, and we have model of text field, like this. So far here we have defined actually our field that we need, their name, and also the field type that it will hold. So we start by definition, by defining also our this will have self on this part, and we have return self dot title. So guys, what can I say on this part? Let me explain a little bit before I move on. We have a cal field, as you can see in our type definition. This is for short text, and we have text field, which is for longer text, and we have date that stores date info. And on this part where we have this function of string, this str, or for me I call it string, it helps to display the book title in admin panel or Django shell, or what we call Django shell, because we have admin panel, our admin dashboard for it's like a default admin dashboard that come up with the Django that help us to control the flow of our data into the system. So after creating our model, there is another thing we have to do. We have to make sure that we have made a migration, which is python manage.py make migrations like this. This migration converts your model into migration file. That is the use of this migration. And we do enter, and it has created our migration file. And after this migration file, you have to do also python manage.py migrate, and this migrate applies those migration to your database. And our current database we are using right now is this one, which is named db.sqlite3, and I will do enter, and it apply all changes to my database. So on this part we are done with migration. So let's create our serializer. So but before I jump to serializer, let me explain about a little bit what serializer is. Serializer convert model instance into JSON and vice versa. That is the use of serializer. It converts our model instance into JSON or vice versa. So how do we create our serializer? In our app, we have created a custom app here. We will create another file. This file, we name it serializers.py, and this serializers.py we will have first to import our REST framework, and it will import serializers, and we also import our model that we need to access. Import book, because I'll give it a name of book. If we return here on our model, we find out that we give it a class of book. Let's go back to our serializer, and after this we have to name our serializer. Serializer will have a class of book serializers. No, serializer, because it's a class, it must not be in let me say plural, that is naming convention. Serializer, how to take our serializers, this, and we import model serializer like this. And then after this, what do? We have to make our class method. This class method, we hold our model. This model, it will have name of book, because here it's named book, and we have fields. And how many fields do we need? Because we actually need all fields, we will do like all field like this. We will mention all field. But if we do not need all field, we have to make like an I can say like a list that contains the field that we need. But for us, we need all fields. So model serializer automates a lot of work by mapping directly to the model. And also, if you see right here on our meta, we have these fields where we define our field. This will include all models that we need. So after creating our serializer, everything is set up for us, because we know where the serializer, it will convert our model instances into JSON and vice versa. we have again to go to our view to make a generic view for everything that we are actually making. So how do we create our generic view? Here we come to the views.py, and here in the views.py we have actually to make sure that we import the necessary dependencies that we need, or module that we need. On this part we have to import from .modules, import book, and we need to import also our serializer and import book serializers like this. And then after importing our all module that we need, what do we have to do next? We have to make sure that we create our view. So how do we create them? Let's first start with, let me make a little bit short comment here. Let's make a list. Let's list all books right here. So we have to create a class of book list, create view like this, and here we will, so there is another thing I didn't exactly import. We have to import what I call REST Framework module, and we import generics. All right, and then after importing generics, because we really need generics here in our view, because we're dealing with REST framework, I have to put here generics, and we do list create API view, and this in list create API view, what does it do? It handles a get method and a post method, means it lists all when we use it, and by post method it create a request. That is the use of this list create API view. And then what do we do after this? We have to acquire, or to make sure that we are retrieving all of our objects from our module. So we have to make a query set, let me name it a query set, where this query set will have a book dot objects dot all, which means it will retrieve all of the information we have in our module book. And then after this we have actually to make our serializer class, how to call it, which is book serializer, like this. So this is the creation of actually our view for list of all books. And then let's see how we can make about retrieval, update, or delete, because they are all can be created. But the amazing thing of our Django, it simplifies the way we interact with API, or the way we create API. So let me show you how the Django makes things more easy. Let me say we need to create a retrieve, update, or delete of books. So we have to make a class, and this class we name it book retrieve, not retriever, book retrieve, update, and destroy view. All things are the same place. And then here we have a generic also, because it's a REST API that we are using, and in this generic we have retrieve, update, destroy API view. So let me check if I have not written a retrieve, update, destroy API view. Nice. So on this part, what exactly are we performing here? So let again first retrieve our query set, which is book dot objects dot all and serializer class, which is book serializer. Nice. So let me explain a little bit on retrieve, update, destroy API view. This generic actually handles get, put, patch, which is for update, and also delete. So this one can perform several tasks at the same time in the same code here as we write. We do not have to redefine, say if it is only update, is only delete, but here it can do all at the same time. So, and you have been seeing this name I have named here, which is query set. This query set actually defines what that like what data to work on exactly. That's what this query set means. And also serialized class define how data should be converted. That is the use of this serializer class. So guys, after this, what do we have to deal with next? Because we have started with setting up our project and environment. After environment, we install our modules that we need. After installing our modules, we dealt with model. After model, we go to serialize. After serializer, we go to view, and then right here we have to set up our URLs, our universal resource locator for our application. So where do we have to set all of this? We have to go to our URL. I can see that here we don't have it, but I have to create this file called urls.py. In this url.py, we have also to mention our module that we need. We need Django.urls, import path, and from have also to import our view, because all of our activities will be performed on view, book list. Let me try to see what I have, because I don't remember where all the classes I have created, like these two. Okay, like this. I put all of them right here: book list create view, and book retrieve update destroy view. So after importing my module, the next step is to make my URL pattern. This pattern will actually hold my URLs that I need, and we have to put it in path function, and this path it will have book. This is the name of my URL to be having, and this book will actually have to take my view create view, book list create view, and as here we give it as view, to take it as view, and then we have to name this one because we might need to use it. Name equal to book list create, like this. And then I have to create another path which will be books, and here on this part I have exactly to mention my ID because we will be dealing with data on how exactly we can delete them, update them, something like that. So I have to put this because we are dealing with the three at the same time. So let me put my integer because the ID will be saved as integer, and this pk, it will be my primary key that I will be accessing, and I put my book here as view. And after this I have to make name. This name to be book details, like this. Alright, so here I have actually defined my URL patterns. I have mentioned the path. I have to create the book path, the books path, and on this path here, the book path, it will actually handles the list and creation of our list. And for this one I have here, this path I have right here, it will handle retrieve, update and delete for a single book using its primary key, which is this pk which is mentioned right here. So this is how exactly we make it. Another thing, we have to now our API will be we need to make sure that our API can be accessible, and the API we will be mentioning right here. And to be able our API to be accessed, because right here we have created everything, you have to go in our URL and we make another path, and this path we have to make API like this, and you have to include, because right now we didn't have any kind of access to our APIs, so you have to include our let me say our app, which is book, and this book we need to access our URLs, because these URLs they are the one that contain what we exactly need. And to make sure that there is nothing we have missed, we have to check if our module are well imported, because here there is no include. You have to make include, which will include exactly our app. After this, guys, the remaining thing is to test our API. And the way we do it, we have to go to the Postman. Yesterday we checked how we exactly make some operation using Postman in the different ways. So this is the time we are going to be using Postman. So first of all, I have to make sure that my application is running. I do run server. Okay, so I can see no module called books.view. Let me first handle these errors. Dot view, let me see. It's happening on yours. Alright, here yours, import. Okay, here they say first retrieval. Here there's, I have forgot to put this one. Okay, and I go to serializer, everything is set. Our module, everything is set. Our URLs, nothing missing. Serializer is okay. Serializer is okay, but there is an issue on view. Here on our view, how to make sure that you put this one. I have forgotten this. And okay, let me restart my application then and see. What other issues I'm facing right here? URL patterns. It should be called URL patterns, not URL pattern. Nice. So guys, this is the actual way you have to solve, also to handle some errors that you might be facing, because I'm human. I can make a mistake in my writing and also in my code, but you must also understand the way you have to solve them by checking your console for the prompted errors that they are mentioning, and you must understand them, because most of the thing that a developer must be skilled with is the way he can also handle errors that he's facing. So after this, let me open my Postman. Because it's the one that I'm going to be using. Alright, here I have my new correction, and my new correction I have here, let me try to rename it. Okay, let me rename it. Let me call them Django REST Framework, like this. So okay, let me delete this one because I don't need it. Delete. And guys, remember, there is one thing last time I taught you about, because we are going to be using what I call APIs to test here on our Postman. Let me try to close everything I have here because they are not necessary. Nice. So first of all, let me first create my environment here and make my new environment, and this new environment, okay, alright, okay, let me make my environment, and here in my environment I want to have okay, yeah, I can see there's still some of there. Okay, alright, so here we make a base URL, and this base URL I want it to have initial value. The current value it was having is this one, but for me I want to create a new one, so I want it to initialize with HTTP. This is the, let me take it from my project, this one I have right here. Okay, and I paste it on this part. Okay, I can even make it my current my current value. So and I'm using API. Let me make sure that this is also made well, API, like this. So here I have created my environment. I might need like a different thing, the different way I need to access this, but right now, because I have made my environment, I will access this anywhere, wherever I need it. So let me save it, and let me name this environment. I will name it Django environment, like this, and I make sure that everything is set like this. So let me add my request, and by adding my request here on my URL, let me first name it. So I will name this create book. Let me name it like this, create book, and I want to make sure it has a post. Let me save this one to make sure that my requests also get saved. And here on my URL I have to put exactly URL base URL like this, because I already have this environment API, and I have to name my book to make things more simple like this. So I have named my book right here. Let me create my body, because guys, remember, you see Realizer, which is converting them into JSON. You have to go to our law, and this is a JSON format that we'll be using. And before I put my data right here, I have forgot that we have header, and this header we actually have to name the type of format that we'll be using. And here I'm using content type. Here they show it to you, and the type of content I'm using is application JSON, this one. So let me return to the book, and I put my actually JSON that I need to send to my endpoint. Let me say like born a crime cried. Let me say like this, born a cried. Let me say author is Trevor Noah, and published date let me call it let me just give it 2016 15 like this. And also a description. Let me give it a simple description, and description will be a memo about growing up in apartheid. What is it? It is apartheid. South Africa. Comedian Trevor Noah, like this. So this is a sample data I'm going to be using to test my API. So then after creating this, and again save it, because I don't want to lose these data, and I do send. So after sending, you see they provide me, they say page not found. Why is this? This is HTML. Let me check the reason why. They say API books, they're not finding this API. So let me check well why, or the reason behind this you will not be found. So first of all, they say here the API books post API. Okay, let me first check the reason why, the reason behind this. Okay, they are not finding it. So there is post API books. So this is the problem here, because I have named this book, not books. So if I come here, I have to make sure it's named book, and if I send, they say server error. So server error, let's say at book. I have to check again well why this is causing some runtime error. And they say you call this URL via post, but URL doesn't end with slash. You have append slash. I have to append slash. So do I have to append slash like this? Because they are recommending it to me right here on runtime. So let me do it. And insertion this. So there is a problem insertion. Creating a model serializer without either fields, attribute, exclude attribute has been deprecated. It's not disallowed. Add explicit field all. Okay, and again here I have error in my serializer. I have to check it. My serializer, they say fields. It should be fields instead of field, like this. And so I come back in and I check. I do send, boom. Guys, this is how accurately you make your codes. You make sure you understand what you're doing, and also you understand well how to handle those errors. Because every time you will write code, if you're a human, you will meet with different kind of errors, but you do not have to be afraid of them. Because sometimes we make a mistake. That's us, we humans. So this was the test for create book. This was the first test. And let's go on the next step, because we do not have like a lot of data. Let me say, because we don't have many data to deal with, let me say like two like this. Maybe we can have only 2 records, because I don't want to put a lot of records here. Alright, and let me send again to create new data, and they are created. Nice. So if they are created, you will find this code 2 of 1, which means your new resource was created successfully. So this was the first request that we had to make. So guys, let's also dive into the other part on how we can actually update or retrieve our information, because we need also to retrieve our information, the way we retrieve them, the way we actually get our data. First of all, let's test the way we retrieve our data. I have to go here. I create again my request, and this request I have to rename it. You can rename it right here too. Have retrieve books, like this, books, and goes here header, still not like this one. Application of Johnson, okay, nice. So I have to view here, so that everything is set. Content type, and here application Johnson, and on this part after I have to go to the low. I make sure yeah, because here I do not need any single data. Let me retrieve my data, because right here I can say none, because we do not need any kind of data to be sending. That's why we don't need this body part. So if I do send like this, send, you will find out that actually it's retrieving our data in JSON format, which is a real success for us. So let's look upon the way we can actually also retrieve only single data. You can see right here we have ID of 1 and ID of 2. So let's use this ID to retrieve our data that we need. So we come here, we add another request that we need, and this one will be retrieve single book, like this. And on this part I have to make sure that I'm using box, because if you remember well, guys, you have to remember the way you have made your URLs. So here I have used books, not book, guys. I have used books. So I will come on this part and I write 1 because on this part we are receiving actually the ID, the primary key from our database. So, and here I have forgot another slash. Make sure that you do not do this mistake too. And here I put slash to make sure that there is nothing will go wrong with our code. And when I send to test, boom, as you see, here is the record from our primary key 1, which I have right here. So here we are done with the way we can retrieve our data from our application that we have on the server. Alright then, let's view also how we can update our whole data. So the way to update our whole data, we have to come here, we add a request, and after adding a request, we have to rename this. Let me name it update or data or book data, like this. And we have again here to write our books like this, and we have to mention exactly our ID we need to update. Let me just say 2 because 2 is the one that I made really wrong. And I use put on this part. I have to use put. And again, I have to make sure that my header has content type. This content type must have application Johnson because it's the data that I will be sending. This will be its header. And on this part, I go to the low, and low I have to mention my Johnson that I need to take. But for me, because I need to make my life more simple, I will come here and I check where I have my data, and I copy the one that I need and I put it inside like this. So actually I have mentioned the data I want to modify, and I want to modify all of them. Let me say like rich daddy and poor daddy, like this. And maybe I don't remember the author of this book, is the real rich guy. Let me just put my name because also I will be a rich, of course. And the date and whatever, let me just name it this. Okay, let me just say like simple things like this. I don't need like the accurate data, but the data that I have to test. So far, I have put my data that I need to update, and then when I send, you see my data will be updated. If I come back to my retrieve all book, when I send again, you will find out that my data has updated. So guys, this is it. This is the real thing we needed to make while testing our put. So to make sure that everything is set well, I have to make sure that I save. Don't forget to save. Let me check also other requests to make sure that they are all saved. Yes, it's essential part, guys. Make sure that every time you deal with your code in Postman, you save them. So this was the put to change the whole record. Then let's check on how we can only change a partial. Let me say a partial, one single record in our data we have here. Let me say okay, let me again create a request, and here in a request I want to update single data in book. Select this one, and I have to use what I can call patch. It's essential. Remember this, guys. You have to use patch, and I have to mention my URL, which is books, and again I want to update my book, which has primary key of 2. And after this, okay, I have to make sure that my header again has contents. Okay, I think everything is going well, right? Guys, wait a second, I need to check what's wrong with this Discord. Why is it disconnecting? Because our live session must not be interrupted by anything. So all right. So guys, let's just continue. It's fine. It's fine. We will deal with this later. So after we actually made our key and values that we want to update, first let me save. I will just send this data, and when I send them, they will bring me back the data that they have updated with all other information. So this is how we use touch. And then let's make a delete request. We will go here and make a request. This request, I will say delete a book or single book, and I will just use delete, and I will just go to books, and I mention the ID that I want to delete, and after mentioning ID here, I will not do anything else. Only thing I will do is just to click on send, and if I send, they will say 204, which is no content. And when I come back to my retrieve book and try to retrieve again and see, we find out that my data have been deleted. So guys, this is how to do a CRUD operation using Django exactly. So I would like guys to end my live session